In the previous video, we worked with layers and we discover more features that are available here using the switches and using the buttons here on the top of the timeline. And also right-clicking, we worked with columns and we activated all of these columns. We talked about the matse and the mask and the luma and how to use it, how to invert it. And we use also a gradient. Now, if you deactivate the visibility of the gradient, you will have the transparency because this is only using now the Luma channel. So you can decide if you want to use the mask or the Luma, which is basically the luminosity or the black and white point. So the black will be more transparent, the white will be less transparent. So you can have this nice gradient effect. We talked about text also, and in this video, we're gonna talk more about text. And also we saw how we can use the null object layer to create hierarchies and father and child relation and link using this kind of spiral icon. And then we also use guide layer. And then in this case, I substituted this, I can substitute this with an actual logo. So this can work as just as a placeholder, and it will not be visible when you render out the project, your composition. It's only going to be visible here, and you can then substitute it anytime with an actual graphic like this one here, and also apply an effect using the style. So right click and go to layer style. I've applied here outer glow to give a little bit of glowing to that. So you can use null objects and guide layers just to define a layout, and then you can hide them, or you can just render the composition. They will not show up. So let's just preview here the animation. You can see we have kind of animated banner there with another video, and then we have the video in the background. This, again, just simple examples for you to understand. Now I'm going to create a new project and new composition, and this is going to be our lesson 09, and we're going to talk about vector graphics more in detail. So I'm going to save the project also as lesson 9, and let's get started with the new lesson. Now quickly before we start, I'm going to give you some advices and some notions. So if you want to know more about layers, you can also check the manual as usual, or for anything. For example, if you want to know more about the quality and the sampling, you can go here. This is about, how you're going to use the layer for recreating some of the pixels. So some of these can be better with the bicubic sampling, like scaling up and rather than scaling down, and other indication. You can find them in the manual. And if you want to work with vector graphics, there are some specific tools or software that you can use. One of these is going to be Adobe Illustrator. And if you want to have a free alternative, you can use an open source. You can use Inkscape. And well, first, what is the difference between raster and vector? Now, vector basically uses vertices and lines instead of using pixels. So when you scale an image a lot, when you upscale an image a lot, when you resize, you can see the pixels. The vector will never show you the pixels. The only pixel you will see will be the ones of your screen. I'm gonna make some example later. But if you want to work with raster graphics or pixels or photography, then in that case, you can use Photoshop. And you can use GIMP as a free alternative. Now, if you're interested in all of these, you can check the video courses in the channel. Now, also, I want to show you how you can work with the text. Text can be considered kind of a vector graphic because it can be scaled up and scaled down without losing quality. And text uses fonts. Now, you can get free fonts from the web if you search for free fonts. And I want to show you this website here. And this is the one. So you can select like a category here, and it's really easy. Just when you spot a font that you like, just download it, save it in your download folder or wherever you want. And once it's downloaded, you can just open the folder. In this case, this is my download folder. And if I double click, I can get inside the folder. And if you double click again on the font, you can install it. Just click on install right here, and that's it. It's going to be installed in your computer, in your Windows, and you can use it. The other way is to copy this. So you can click here on the copy and go in your Windows folder and look for the fonts folder, and then you can just paste it. So you can do one or the other. They will work exactly the same. So once it's installed in your computer, you can use it not only in After Effects, but also in Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever other application you have installed. So when I go here now, let's go and start with the text. Now, these are the vector graphics that you have in After Effects. So you have text, you have the pen tool, and then you have the shape, or well, in this case, you have a rectangle, but if you hold the left mouse, you can access other shapes. Now I'm gonna get the text first. So I will click and drag, and this is essentially creating a text layer. So if I type here, let's type After Effects. Okay, be careful that you have enough space on this box. If you don't have it, just click and drag and make it a little bit bigger. And there you go. Now, if I want to change font, I need to underline the text that I want to modify. And then I'm going to go here. You see we have the properties here that are based on the empty text layer in this moment. And that's the font we're using. If I want to change that, just going to type the font that I downloaded. Well, I've downloaded few. So in this case, I want to show you this one here, which is Blackout. That's the one. So you can see that it already applied the font to the part of the text that I have underlined, clicking and dragging with the left mouse. Now the text can also be bigger, so you can scale the text. You can change the spacing between lines. So if I like type some extra text, I need more space here. So let's say this is, well, let's just type again After Effects. So if I underline this too, click and drag here in the blue area, click and drag with the left mouse, that's gonna increase the spacing between the two lines of text. And then you can increase the spacing between letters. And well, you probably know all of these from like another word processor. This is the alignment of the paragraph. And you have two main options here. You can fill the inside of the text. So let's fill it with this Adobe color here, this kind of purple color. And you can also use a stroke. Stroke will go around the text. So I'm going to increase the size so you can see it better. And then I can change here also the color of the stroke. So let me get like this other color from After Effects. You can do the stroke over fill or fill over stroke, depending on what you like the most. And remember, you need to underline. So click and underline if you want to make some changes. Now, when you're working with text, you can also change the interface or workspace from the default to the text. So this is going to be specific for that. And for example, here, let me just delete this other line. By the way, you have also additional settings here for the paragraph, like indent, if you want to move the text, and the paragraph. But again, you can find this in any word processor. And that's the left to right, right to left, and alignments, justification, and that's it. So that's what you'll find in the paragraph. Now I'm going to delete these other letters. I want to underline only the after word here. And in this interface, you're going to have this pop-up. And here you can also change the fill and the stroke and other settings. And also you can invert here or swap the fill and stroke colors right away. So you can assign different colors and different stroke for different letters, different characters in the text.